our 12 o'clock, I hit something. We're still close. I hit something.
What we call struggling today. No, I'm just kidding.
In the best way.
In the best way. We are ready to go. Part two.
But really what we're talking about today, oh my gosh, welcome to
Ba-ba-da-ba.
Friday with Friends. Friday with Friends is our opportunity here at the Friend Team Real Estate to talk about what's going on in the market and to listen to the questions that are being asked and make sure that you know what's going on in this real estate market so that if you, your friends, your family, your coworkers, or anyone has any real estate needs, we will be your realtor of choice. That's what we want.
Exactly. And there's always so much to talk about because the market is always changing and we are in a crazy market right now. So we have lots of cool things to talk about today.
Yeah, so make sure if you are watching this live, hashtag live. If you're watching this later, hashtag replay with any comments. You just want to say hey so we can make sure that we do not miss you.
Exactly. Yeah, hashtag replay with any questions or thoughts. If you're a buyer and you just went through this or you're going through this or anything like that, don't hesitate to write us a little message so we can say hey.
Yes, fabulous. So, our topic today is how to win every single time as a buyer when you're in a seller's market.
Ooh.
Every single time.
Every single time. So tell me, Mandy, what win is
so
for us
today. So I looked up a little dictionary action, but it's basically to have a successful outcome to something.
Right.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're winning that house. The key is that you're winning and that it's not a process where you're going through and you're like, oh God.
And sisters. And that's, I think, huge because a lot of times when you told me, I didn't think about this before, but when you told me that this is what you wanted to do, I'm like, Mandy, that doesn't make sense. Like when I think win, I'm like, we win the house and we move in the next day. But it's so important that in this market, you might have to write a few offers, but just knowing, okay, I put my best foot forward and I, accomplished a goal, I might not have necessarily gotten the house.
Exactly. So we want to start by telling you a little bit more so you can understand this. And the key, the way you get emotional is when there's surprises and when there's something that you didn't expect. So what we want to talk about is giving you as much education as you can about what the climate of the real estate market is right now here in Rochester, here in the surrounding counties, so that that can kind of set the stage for where we're going.
Got it.
So tell us a little bit about the market, Abs.
I will do that. So we have been finding that since over the last few years, inventory has been slowly but surely dropping, meaning that the amount of houses out there listed for sale is low. With that being said, we are in a seller's market. So simple supply and demand, if you remember from economics class back in the day, there is a low amount of inventory and a high amount of buyers, meaning that the prices have slowly but surely been increasing.
Yes.
GRAR, who's the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors, just announced, earlier this week, Monday, that year over year, prices in Monroe County have gone up by 10%. Median sale prices, like what people are getting for their homes.
Like 10% is insane.
10%.
So what about Ontario County?
So funny you should ask. Just reminded me of the Alan Jackson song. Funny you should ask.
Funny you should ask, Mandy.
Ontario County's gone up 20%. Guys, jaw dropped. Crazy.
And now a lot of that in Ontario County has to do with new builds too, because there's a lot of higher end new builds that are happening in Victor or in Farmington, and if you're out that way, you know what we mean.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so
But
overall,
it's insane.
That's really giving us a clear idea that since the inventory is so low, we're receiving multiple offers. And what has been a big shift in the market just since this last spring is that people are doing delayed negotiations.
Explain that.
What does that mean?
Why? Why do you need delayed negotiations?
So what was happening is people were putting their house on the market on Wednesday, and they would get 10 showings, and on Wednesday night they'd have an offer. And it was maybe really strong, but our sellers are saying, well, I don't want to respond to an offer the first day on the market when I have 12 showings tomorrow and an open house on Sunday. And which really makes sense. And then it was putting the buyers in a hard position because they're saying, I want a response to my offer, which completely makes sense. So what people have been starting to do you have any?
No, just that as a buyer, if we're a buyer's agent, you bet that we're going to try to make that timeline as tight as possible.
Yeah.
We don't want other people to come in. We don't want multiple offers.
Hey, it's noon. We'd like a response by 3.
Exactly. No, that was what we were doing, and then
it was fair because that was the position that they weren't told anything differently.
Exactly.
So what has been happening recently is put our house on the market maybe Wednesday or Thursday, we are not going to be reviewing any offers, aka delayed negotiations, until Sunday at 5 after the open house or something along those lines. It definitely has been happening more and more frequently since the springtime.
Yes. And at first it was like, no, as a buyer, we're still going to be writing those offers, but the sellers are essentially taking back control. When it is a seller's market, the sellers are in control. So it was kind of drawing that line in the sand saying, listen, we are going to be getting the best offer that we can. And I understand you came through on Wednesday and you gave us a great offer, but they're setting the expectations early up. We're not seeing it until Sunday. Go ahead.
And that's been definitely causing people to, put their best foot forward. You had mentioned this earlier, you can't necessarily, because no negotiations are really happening. What it is we're receiving all offers. We had an awesome little house in Spencerport 2 weeks ago, and we got like 15 offers.
15.
Yeah.
It's a lot of paperwork.
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. But what's nice is we can then say, okay, here are all 15 offers. Let's look at the price. Let's look at the terms. Does the closing date work for you? Let's look at the type of financing they're getting. And you can really break everything down and say, okay, this is the offer we're going to go with. So it's really not negotiations. It's really like a delayed decision, because it's really putting the ball back in the seller's court.
And you can see how that drives the prices up.
Right. 10% and 20%.
You can see that a situation like that will drive the prices up dramatically, because it's not, hey, we're going to try to get this as low as it can as a buyer. This is, every buyer is saying, how high can I go in order to get this property?
Yep. How high can I go? Like how low can I
The
go?
opposite, maybe? Anyway.
It is just, okay, we'll keep going. So that's a little bit of what's going on.
What else? I wanted to speak to how it actually balanced out the market in a lot of different ways when these delayed negotiations happen. Imagine you're a buyer who needs to get into a house in the first hour in order to compete.
Right.
What happened was, as a buyer, we said, listen, buyers, come in at any time. Someone who puts an offer in on Wednesday does not get any more preference than someone that puts in an offer on Sunday. If you're out with your family, stay with your family.
Right.
Turn your phone off for an hour.
Don't leave work.
Don't have to leave work in the middle of the day in order to see a house.
Yeah.
So it really did balance it out, and it really made it so, as tough as it was, everyone really followed suit, because it made it so that it wasn't as chaotic.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my sellers when we are going with the delayed negotiations and there is paperwork and lots of things that are extra for, to make sure that everything is set in stone and everyone understands, but really it's just setting the expectation, because we would hate for a buyer, as me being our listing agent, we would hate for a buyer to come in, submit an offer on Wednesday, and then say, why haven't I heard back? We want to just create those expectations of, thank you so much for your offer. As you know, all offers are to be reviewed Sunday. You'll know Sunday. Versus them waiting and waiting and waiting, which that creates, some pressure on them. So just setting those clear expectations up front.
So that, all of that just gives you an idea of this crazy, crazy climate that we're in, that if you are a buyer or you have a coworker that's a buyer and you're seeing them like pulling their hair out, this is why, because it's a lot. And a lot of times we do have clients, yes, there's times where we get a house on the first time. And there's times where they've put 5 offers in on their house. And to us, all we're doing every single time is saying, houses are like buses. There's always another one coming, that we're saying, listen, we can find another one if this wasn't meant for you. So that's what the secret is about. And it's not a secret. It's just saying, how can you set yourself up so that at the end of that transaction, you are feeling, you're feeling confident, you're feeling like there's minimal emotion, and that you won by either getting the house at the price you wanted or not getting the house at a price you didn't want to go to.
Right, and saying, I put my best foot forward. I feel comfortable with everything that we did. We were educated. We were not emotional.
Yes.
On to the next one.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So let's get into the steps that we think are so important. So now that you get it, let's dig into some of the keys to make sure that you are, that you're winning every single time.
Exactly. So the first thing is understanding the market and having an agent that understands the market as well. There's so many things going on, and every week the market is changing. So really understanding, okay, are there delayed negotiations? What does the seller's timeline look like? Do I need to get in today, or can I wait until Saturday when I have a free hour?
Asking those right questions, because you're educated on it.
Exactly. And having your agent reach out to the listing agent. Hey, what's going on? What details can you give me? How quickly do I need to get my buyers in there?
And when you talk about, your emotions come when you're surprised or you weren't expecting something, when you're walking in and you're saying, listen, when you walk into this house tonight, you need to be prepared to make a decision tonight. Or when you walk into this house, you better be walking through with the mindset, how much will I pay for this house?
Yeah.
How high am I willing to go for that house? So that you know it going in. And just having the understanding to then be able to think differently when you're entering into this marketplace is so important. And to have an agent that's communicating that with you so you can communicate to them and you can ask the right questions, get the right answers, and really just feel confident that as you enter into it.
Exactly. And every time you go into a house, unfortunately, it's going to be different. Some listing agents might have delayed negotiations, some might not. So really, every house you go into, having a specific game plan for that house. All right, number 2, financing.
So number 2 is really understanding your financing. And what we mean by this is it's not just like with this specific house, but you want to understand what your financing is aside from a specific house, because that's how you can make unemotional decisions. That when you get put in an emotional decision, you've already made those decisions. So we as agents, we're saying, okay, what is your max price? And people say my max price is $200,000, for example. Okay, well, what if you find everything you would ever dream in a house and more? How high would you be comfortable going? And like, 200 is really all we can do. Then we find a house that is everything you want, and you're like, we'll go to 225. And we can then say, do you remember when you weren't emotional? Do you remember how we had that conversation? Because if you go to 225, here's how it might negatively impact your family. And these were the things that you were worried about at first.
Your other experiences, your vacations, things like that.
So that we can represent you as agents better when you're very clear on this is my max, but this is my max, and no matter what, I don't want to go over this. And that's how, when buyers get into these situations where it's 20, 25K over asking, then they're like, let's go for it. Then they're getting cold feet the next day. That experience is so hard to go through. So when you're putting this work in advance on your finances, it really makes it so that you're less emotional and can make smarter decisions.
Yep, definitely. And another thing is having a loan officer that you can really rely on and trust as well. If you're going into maybe a different town that has different taxes or, some additional prices that you didn't have before you even go to the house, maybe it's at $200,000. Hey, that's our max budget. We're in this new, maybe a village that has different taxes. Can we run these numbers? Because I know I wouldn't want to go into a house that I couldn't afford and fall in love with it. So having that information up front, even for specific houses too.
Perfect. So number 1 is really understanding the climate of the marketplace. And number 2, really understanding what your finances are and deciding and making those decisions with your partner, with your agent, in an unemotional setting. Upfront.
Before you find your dream house.
Before you find it that you will drool over and we have to rein you in. And sometimes people say, listen, I hear you. I thank you for challenging me. We're good. We were able to find this money here, find that money there. And it works. Our job is just to make sure that you're making that best decision. And that's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Number 3.
So number 3 is really understanding the pricing and what the house is worth, but also knowing that the market has changed. A house right now is frankly not comparable to a house a year ago. So, it's a different place. It's a different market, and the value of prices and the value of houses is changing every single day, every single week.
We used to go back, and even appraisers can probably attest to this. We used to go back, within 6 months, we are actually using comparables that are currently pending.
They haven't even sold.
And because maybe we had an offer in on it, we know it went 15K over asking, because we're representing the seller, where we can get some insights into that. That's how we're able to identify what the true market value is. And you could say, I'm overpaying, but not for this current market. Are you paying more? Yes, but I would not call it overpaying because it's what the market is pulling and pulling consistently.
Yep, exactly. And so again, just comes back to being educated on the market and having an agent that educates you on that as well. So you can say, okay, I know that this is the price. I know that a year ago, maybe it was worth a little bit less, but in this market, that's what it's worth.
I always use the example of we had this Fairport house where we were one of the buyers, and I was competing with 20 other offers, and it was absolutely insane. And I think it went like 35, 40K over asking, like something crazy. But I use this example to say if we have a buyer right now that's looking in Fairport with a max budget of say 175, if it's listed at 175, it might not be worth seeing, because that's going to go higher. And for you to continue to show these houses at your max budget, that's actually going to be going for 180, 185 at a minimum. So when you are setting up your search, when you're looking, list prices need to be seen in a totally different lens if it's one of those marketplaces that the prices are dramatically going over list price.
Where maybe you decrease your budget a little bit or start focusing on houses that are maybe at 150, but knowing I can put my best foot forward now. I'm not at my max budget where I feel uncomfortable going over asking price. I can go a little bit lower and feel more comfortable.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. Okay, and then 4. We're so good. Oh gosh, sorry you have to deal with this. Thanks for listening, guys. We love you so much.
Thanks everybody that's tuning in.
I don't want to touch anything because last time I flipped it all over, so
you messed it up.
Hi everyone, we love you all so much. Okay, so the final piece,
number 4.
Number 4 is to understand the goals of this purchase. So, hi Jeremy, is to understand the goals of this purchase. So, if we have someone who is in a 3 to 5 year house, it's really a challenge if we're saying, hey, let's push the bar on value. The higher up that we go in terms of, okay, listen, last year this house was at 115, now it's selling at 130. In 3 years, we need to make sure that we can sell it for 130. That time, your principal, it hasn't paid down that much.
Paid it down, yep.
So you're in a tough spot. However, if it is more of a long-term house for you and you see yourself being in here 10, 15, 20 years, then paying that extra $5,000 in order to get that property, we have buyers that we say, listen, you need to look at it from that lens. Is it worth waiting another year? Because right now you're going to be paying that in rent. You're going to be missing out perhaps on lower interest rates, that it may be worth paying a little bit more in order to have it more of a long-term house. But if it is a quick turnaround, we do need to really make sure that we're not paying a little bit, being too aggressive in our pricing.
Yeah, and that's really where it comes down to being prepared and knowing what type of house is this for you. Not only do you need to know the timeline, the financials, all of that stuff, but you really need to understand and know, okay, what type of house is this for me?
Yes.
Is it my first house where I'm going to be out of here in 3 to 5 years, or is this my forever home and I feel comfortable pushing the bar and paying over asking?
Yeah, and the cool thing about all of these 4 things, so understanding the market, understanding your financing, was the second piece. The third piece is understanding the market, and then the last piece is really your goals of the purchase. Right. All of these things are what we do day 1 with our clients.
Exactly.
This is at the buyer's consult when we have a buyer that's looking in the next, could be anywhere from tomorrow to a year from now, that we're sitting with these buyers to learn all of that, learn all of these details, to not only have them meet us and make sure it's a good fit, but also to educate them and to manage their expectations. Hi, Heidi! So, that's where, to us, this is the success. This is how you are going to be able to win every single time, because winning doesn't mean winning the house. Winning means you go through this process with not crazy emotions, you're not upset, minimal surprises, so that you are, like you said, you're putting your best foot forward.
Right. And that's really what, we wanted to talk about today, is so many people might get discouraged in this market because they've written a few offers and they haven't gotten the homes. What we want to do is, shift the mindset a little bit, where we're going to say, okay, at the end of the day, I was competing against 15 other offers, which happens often, but I can truly say to myself, I put my best foot forward, I was educated, I was non-emotional, and I, can sit here saying I didn't overpay for the house. I feel comfortable with where I'm at. So even if you didn't get it, you can give yourself a pat on the back to know you put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and to the person that got it, high five. You know that house worked for them at that price, but it didn't work for us at that price.
Exactly.
So all right, well,
that's it.
We hope this was helpful, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Friday with Friends. So Friday with Friends is our opportunity. Heidi, how do you know you paid the right price? The market. The market always brings about the right price.
And that's something that we, do as agents to help our clients. And I think we talked about that at number 3, is we are doing a market analysis, but again, a house, from last year might not be comparable anymore. So we're really digging into our expertise in the market to be able to give you guys a good idea and give our clients a good idea of, fair market value, because it's always changing.
Exactly. And, we always joke too, if you walk into the first house and you buy that first house, it's not like, I've only seen one house. Like, I think we can all agree you've probably been looking online for a long time.
I did 2 houses.
But you look at a few houses too. But
for my house.
Yes,
I looked
you
at
physically
2,
going in. Exactly.
But you look at so many online. That's exactly it.
So you have a good feel for the market just through your personal experiences of what you can get in for what price. And the market is crazy right now. So it's you did just fine, Heidi. So Friday with Friends is our opportunity to share with you what's going on in the market, to answer questions, and so that you can see us as your real estate resource. So if you have any friends, family, coworker, anyone that we can help with their real estate needs, we'd love the opportunity to be your realtor of choice. So thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, and we'll even put in the stats that we posted earlier in the comments so you can take a look at that.
Yes, and as always, www.friendonyourside.com is how you can reach us, or you can message us here. If you ever know of anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest, we would love, love, love to help. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.